my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be part one of a two-part series that I'm going to be doing on my channel for this week and next week, and it is my fall reading recommendations. So this week I'm going to be focusing on more modern literature, books, YA, adult, that kind of thing. And then next week I'm going to be focusing on classic literature, which is going to be so exciting. I have them all stacked up there waiting for me to film the video, and I'm just so excited to talk about them. They're just, yes. Anyway, so today is kind of not really spooky books because I myself don't read a lot of thrillers or horror books or that kind of things that are really popular around this time. I tend to gravitate to really atmospheric reads, or just like cozy reads that you just want to wrap yourself in. Those are what I'm going to talk about today. I have divided my books that I'm going to talk about into kind of like different categories as best as I can. They're kind of all over the place, but it's going to have to work for now. So the first category I'm going to talk about is adult or like YA type, more contemporary reads. Don't really have much magic to them, but are more just kind of there. So out of these books, there are also different categories because when you're talking about like adult fiction or just regular fiction, you have contemporary, really lighthearted stuff, and then you have like mysteries. And this time of year is also my favorite time of year to dig into mystery novels because I just love the kind of like vibe they give off. I don't know why. But first and foremost, let's start with just the regular contemporary novels, and I have two of them to talk about today, and that they are Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson and Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. So instead of explaining these books from front to back, which I'm going to do for everything here, I'm going to do this different thing. I'm going to give you 3 to 4 words about them that I think act as a kind of, instigator for you to find these books. So first and foremost, Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. Witches, necromancy, high school, and fat rep. Those are your 4. And then for Fangirl, I'm going to say university, coffee shop, writing, and book boyfriends. So those are your 2 for right now. If those 4-word little tidbits didn't spike your interest, I don't know what does. I'm gonna keep going. So the next 2 are more adult novels that I find actually are pretty... One of them is actually like on the verge of being a little bit scary, and I think it's like just the right amount of scary for me myself, who doesn't really like scary things that much, and that is My Sister the Serial Killer by, oh, I looked up how to say her name, Oyinkan Braithwaite. Braithwaite? I really hope that's how you say it. I don't think it is. So there's this one, and we have Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling, and her like crime books. This is not the first one, this is the second one. My dad is currently reading the first one. So imagine this says The Cuckoo's Calling instead of The Silkworm. But okay, so for this one, our 4 words are going to be sisters, serial killers, doctors, and psychological. And this one, for pretend this is Cuckoo's Calling, we're gonna say mystery, famous, London, and atmospheric. Yeah. I don't know. For this one in particular, if you decide to pick this up, I highly suggest you do and read it all in one sitting. I listened to the audiobook of this one, and it took me like 2.5 hours, maybe only 2 hours, because I was listening to it at like 2.0 speed, and it's delicious to just consume in one sitting, and I think that gives you the super intense atmospheric vibes that this does. But if the title gives you nothing and this intense cover gives you nothing, I don't know what will. Moving forward, kind of into a transitionary type of genre here, I'm going to be talking about two books that kind of connect a little bit to, well, one of them does, to a previous book that I talked about, and then another one is just kind of on its own. So the first one is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, which evidently is attached to Fangirl, which I just talked about, and The Raven Boys, pretend this says The Raven Boys, I don't actually have that book, by Maggie Stiefvater. So these kind of hover, for me at least, in like a middle ground between YA contemporary and YA fantasy, because they deal with fantastical things but like have a more lighthearted contemporary feel to them. So first and foremost, Carry On. Their 4 words are going to be magic, gay, cuteness, gay cuteness, that'll be 1. Harry Potter spoof, and a riot, and a good riot at that. And for The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, 100% atmospheric, magical, found family, and mystical. I like those 4 words. This is really fun for me. I don't know why. I love this. Anyways, so those are 2 more I highly recommend around this time of year. Again, another kind of a little bit of a detour from those main genres. I have just one singular book here, and I wanted to mention it because it is the equivocal fall book that you could ever have, and it's a graphic novel. And that is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. I always forget how to say her name for some reason because it's 3 words and I don't know. But this, if you can't tell from the absolutely adorable cover, focus on it, not on me, please. So for this one, my words are going to be pumpkin patch, best friends, senior year, and just fall, because it just breathes fall, you know? But I really highly recommend this because it's super quick and it just, it gives you that like fall feeling, and I don't know, it's so cute. I just love it. Anyways, so this is another one. Now, before we go on, I did want to mention a few audiobooks I've been loving around this time of year and that I really want to recommend you because they're good as audiobooks and regular books because they're great. But I listen to them as audiobooks and I think that it just like amped up the fall feeling, the kind of atmospheric feeling that you really want around this time of year. So the first ones, I guess 1 and 2, because they are a first and a second of a series, and it's a middle grade series, so it's very, like, not very scary, even though it talks about ghosts and the veil and that kind of stuff, and that is City of Ghosts and Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab as she prefers to be called. These audiobooks are just incredible. I adored them. I adored Cassidy and Jacob and all of that, and I think that listening to the stories really just brought me into it a little bit more. I haven't read them physically, so I can't really tell you if it's like that way as well, but I really, really loved these audiobooks. So for these 4 words, I'm going to just use that for City of Ghosts because I don't want to spoil anything for Tunnel of Bones on accident, you know. So the first one we are going to talk about, or the 4 words are going to be Ghost Best Friend, The Veil, Edinburgh, and Ghost Hunters. Because I love that. I just love that. Anyways, so those 2 are fantastic. Highly recommend you pick them up, either in real form or just in audiobook form. But yes, and they're not scary at all. I mean, they might be if you are of the age that they're meant for, but I actually really enjoyed them as a 22-year-old myself, so I highly recommend you pick them up. The second, or I guess rather third, audiobook recommendation that I think you guys should pick up is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This book took me for such a loop when I was reading it. And I don't know what it was about the audiobook, it just brought me into the story so much more than I think just reading it would have. Anyways, so its 4 words are gothic, psychological, myth, and atmospheric. Again, because it's just intense as hell and I just love it. And ooh, every time I think about that book, I don't know what's real and what's not. So that's amazing. And the last audiobook I want to talk about before I move on to my other books that I'm going to talk about today is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This is a fantastic audiobook. I just adored it, and again, it just brought me into the story in a completely different way that I think wouldn't have happened if I had read the book physically. I don't know, because I haven't read the book physically, but like listening to it was just a whole experience that I adored. So its 4 words are seaside, November, demonic horses, and cold, because that's how I felt the entire time I was reading it, but like in a way that I just wanted to wrap myself in a blanket, just listen to it. It was just so good. Oh, again, atmospheric as hell, but that's like a common trope in this entire video. It's just everything is so atmospheric. So the next genre that I'm moving into is YA fantasy land type of thing, and then branching into like adult fantasy. I'll just put them all together because it makes it easier for me. So the book I'm going to start with is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This book is my new guilty pleasure. If you have seen my Serpent and Dove vlog, then you know my full thoughts on this, and you can probably go watch that and get spoiled for it, but it's fine. I tried not to spoil you in it in any way. But this book, oof, it's just, yeah. Okay, its 4 words are witches, enemies to lovers. I think that's almost enough to describe it. Witches and enemies to lovers. Oh, and then witch hunters. We love. It's just, I really recommend you pick it up. It's not scary in any way, and I didn't actually find it like overly witchy, but it's like perfect for this time of year. That's why I'm recommending it. The next set of books, really, they go together because they are a first and a second of a series, or not a series, they're a duology. It's a duology. And I read the first one in 2018 and absolutely adored it, and then I reread it this summer, and then I picked up the second one just last month, or just this month because it's currently September when I'm filming this, but I picked it up in September as a buddy read with my friend, and I just adored it even more. And I think that these are just perfect for fall. And that is The Strange the Dreamer duology by Laini Taylor. So my 4 words, or my 3 words, or however many, are going to be aimed at Strange the Dreamer specifically, because I don't want to spoil you for this. So the words I'm going to choose are wonderment, because, oh my god. The second I'm going to choose is gods, lost lands, and adventures, because that is technically, the wonderment is huge with this, because this world is just so incredible to me, and I just want to live here forever and ever and ever and ever. Oh, I adore these books so much. Pick them up if you haven't yet. So the next 2 books, and almost the last books on this entire list, are my 2 kind of more adult fantasy books. I actually don't have one of them with me right now because I lent it to my friend to read. I just have its like dust jacket, and I have another one that obviously I have its copy. Anyways, so the first one I'm going to talk about is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. If you haven't read this book, please do. I have a giant book talk on this already uploaded. There is a non-spoilery section and then a spoilery section, so if you wanted to go watch it just to see the first part of it, to get like kind of vibe of this book, definitely do. But one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about just regular fantasy books is because of how incredibly massive the worlds feel, and it just like fall feels like the perfect time to delve into a huge world and just sink yourself into it and live in it forever. And that's what Priory does for me. So the words I'm going to use for this one are gay representation, dragons, two worlds at war, and standalone. Because it is a standalone fantasy book. How often do we get these? Not often at all, and this is just fantastic. I highly recommend you pick this up this fall and just sink your teeth into it. I know it's huge, and if you need help to get through it, use an audiobook, because the audiobook is also fantastic. The narrator is amazing. But just this book is so good. Please pick it up. Now, the next book is kind of just gonna talk about the whole shebang, the whole series in a whole, because when I think of fantasy, I think especially fall fantasy that I want to read around fall time, and it is the Lord of the Rings series. And I also have the Hobbit in my hand, because just whenever I think of these, I just think of the incredible journey that it takes you on, and it makes me want to sink back into a couch and just read these. I know that a lot of people say this world, or this J.R.R. Tolkien's, I always say his name wrong. So Jert, we're gonna call him Jert, J-R-R-T, Jert. So Jert's writing can be a little bit hard to get into. So again, I really recommend the audiobooks for this, because the narrator for them just, it makes you feel like you're sitting at your grandfather's knee listening to a story be told, and I don't know what else gives off cozy vibes than that. So for these, okay, we'll start with the Hobbit. So for the Hobbit, the 4 words I'm going to say are adventure, hobbits, landscape, and dragon. Because if you know the story of the Hobbit, you know those words are just accurate as hell. And for Lord of the Rings, for the Fellowship of the Ring, the first one specifically, I'm going to use found family, quest, magic, and elves, because that's all in here. And this is just the most cozy read, and I kind of want to reread them specifically because it's fall and I just want to delve into them so deep. Maybe I'll reread The Hobbit this year because it's smaller and it's great. It's so good. I just want to read. If you haven't read these, please do. I really recommend them. At the very least, watch the movies because they're great too. Just break my heart. So good. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about these. I'm so sorry. I just want to talk about them forever. Now, you may be wondering, Jen, homegirl, this is a fall reading recommendations video. You've talked about adult, you've talked about YA fantasy, you've talked about middle grade, you've talked about audiobooks and regular fantasy. Where is Harry Potter? Well, I was saving that for last because you can't have fall without Harry Potter. It is like, they are the quintessential books to read in fall. They just are. And I saved it specifically because I wanted to talk about the illustrated edition, because the Goblet of Fire illustrated edition is coming out early October and I am ridiculously excited to get my hands on that one. But also, because this is just beautiful, and if you really want to sink into that cozy, magical feeling that is a different world, this is the perfect way to do it, I think, is to pick up either the regular book, this book, or the audiobook, Jim Dale or Stephen Fry, however you want to take it. This is just, Harry Potter is just, I just want to hug it forever. But I also wanted to mention my favorite, specifically, book to read around this time, besides the Philosopher's Stone, is Order of the Phoenix. Because I feel like this book just has a fall vibe to it, as well as Prisoner of Azkaban, because that just has Halloween vibes to me. I don't know why, but definitely these. Do I even need to do a 4-word summary for this? Do I? If I have to, magic, home, friendship, and adventure, I guess, would be the words I would choose. They're the perfect fall reads, aren't they? They just are. Anyways. So this is the end of part 1 of my fall reading recommendations. Stay tuned next week for part 2, which is going to talk about all the classics that I love for this time of year. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you guys have any of your fall reading recommendations, spooky or not, atmospheric, or whatever you love to read around this time of year. Please let me know, because I'm always on the hunt for more books that just fit this vibe, you know? Make sure to like and subscribe, and if you feel like it, hit that little bell icon so you know when I upload. I tend to upload twice a week with a reading vlog and a regular video. Oh, I got the sleepy poopy. She was sleeping. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.